Hello, Latin 2. We're back, and we are on line 12, the third paragraph of the story on the Siege of Jerusalem on page 252. If you hear any background noise or chewing, it's because my children are eating their lunch, so that might get there. But here we go. Moreover, or however, I translate autem as moreover usually because of other texts that I've read it in. But however, the city Jerusalem was very fortified by nature and by skill. In other words, it was probably built into a mountain like Helm's Deep. For its walls had been built by Herod, and the temple by the king Solomon, and the citadel by the Romans themselves. But alas, at that time, the Jews, the Jews, almost had been a source of extinction to themselves. In other words, they were almost their own ruin. For our soldiers, were divided into three different groups or factions, political rivalries, of whom the rulers or the generals of whom were daily arguing amongst themselves. For some were wanting to seize other plans. So basically you've got a bunch of rulers and they're arguing on how to do it, no unified front, and therefore the bad guys win. Just in case 2016 is too far away for you to remember. Where did we go? Yes. And so before the Romans returned, many Jews already had been killed. And many were, and much food had been destroyed. Titus Flavius Vespasianus, in other words, Vespasian, he's the emperor of the Romans, because he had decided to recapture the city, he sent his son Titus with 4 legions. With their camps having been placed outside of Jerusalem, the Romans were besieging this city for 4 months, having surrounded the wall. At last, mutis proelis factis, with many battles having been fought and with many having been killed on both sides, the Jews were lacking food. And when you lack something, it takes a dative. Many having died from famine, or many dying from famine, pardon me, that's a present participle. And now my dog is eating tuna fish out of a can. The Jews, however, did not surrender themselves. Titus, therefore, attacked the city with the greatest strengths, or with like the greatest forces. Scrap. That's enough. Apologies. With the citadel having been destroyed and the temple having been burned, all the citizens were either captured or killed. I myself, in the first month, was captured by the Romans in a battle, and I was not killed, which kind of makes sense since he's writing the letter. However, I was carried off into slavery, and I did not see the end of the siege itself. Or I myself did not see the end of the siege. People have written in this quite a bit. Titus is said to have wanted to spare the city and the Jewish population. They brought the temple. Ferunt is they hand down. So it's another way of saying it is handed over to us, or it is told to us by tradition. It is told to us, or they say, that the temple was destroyed by Titus unwilling. However, I scarcely am able to believe it. For the Romans, neither knew our traditions nor anything of our sacred way. in any way knew our sacred traditions. Rather, they were always reprehenderunt, scolding them or demeaning them. However, Titus realized that the temple was a seat or the center of sedition and or of rebellion, and he was having for certain that with the temple having been destroyed, that the Jews would soon hand over their arms or their weapons. So that is the story of the siege of Jerusalem. Oh, there is one more paragraph. I apologize. It's at the top of 253. Aliter autem remnerant. Differently, however, our wise men tell a different tale. Because amongst those, so apud is among or with, amongst those who read God, or who essentially are reading the texts, amongst those about whom we have read, God, angry because the Jews were no longer pious or dutiful toward God, decided to punish them, and so both the city and the temple, so he allowed both the city and the temple to be destroyed, or rather, he allowed the Romans to destroy both the city and the temple, rather than help it. Thus, God punished the people. Goodbye, and that's the end of the story. It's a tale as old as time. I mean, literally, it's from very long ago, and it does lead to one of the biggest massacres of the Jews that the Romans had ever committed. So there you go. That's the story. And so when I next see you, it will be chapter 50. And I won't do the translation for a bit because I'm going to teach you about a few other uses of the subjunctive, and then we'll come back and catch that translation. Anyway, I hope that you're doing well. As of this recording, I just found out that our school is closed for the rest of the year. So you really do want to get on board with doing the exercises and sending them to me and getting feedback so that I can get you ready for level 3. I'm going to have a small video after this just explaining what's going on for everyone, and I'll just post that on the page. All right, I'm going to push the button.